Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming today. Yeah. So, today I'll speak on a theme from the Mahabharata which is of universal relevance to all of us. Basically, one of the biggest questions in life is, why is life so unfair? As we put it, why do bad things happen to good people? Recently I was in New York and one 6-year-old boy came and he said, asked me this question, why do bad things happen to good people? Now generally when somebody asks this question, you need to know where they are coming from. So I asked, what happened? He says, I was taking my milk and biscuit and my biscuit fell into my milk. Now, for him that was a bad thing happening to a good person. So we all have certain conceptions of this thing. But in general, it's a question that we all get sometime or the other. So one of the common questions that the scripture answer, or address rather, is this. And at one level, we can talk about the philosophy of karma and talk about how we are only getting the results of our past actions. But it is not always a very satisfactory answer, because we don't know what bad karma we did and what we actually are getting for what. So that's why scripture goes beyond that answer. The focus of scripture is not just answering the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Rather, scripture demonstrates when bad things happen to good people, what do good people do? How do good people respond? And we will look at two characters in the Mahabharata whose life trajectory both parallels and differs. And one of them is considered to be a victim of life's unfairness. In fact, many times when people talk about the Mahabharata, they talk about this character, about how unfairly he was treated. Can any of you guess whom we are talking about? Karna, yes. So we will contrast Karna's life story with the life story of the one whom he considered his arch rival. Who was that? Arjuna, yes. And what we'll focus on is not necessarily who was better in archery, but we will look at what situations they found themselves in and how they responded. So rather than saying that, oh, actually life was not unfair to actually it was not unfair to Karna, ultimately everything happens according to one's own karma, which is okay. But here we'll take a different analysis that life was unfair to everyone. Life was unfair to Arjuna also, if we consider it that way. In what sense? We'll look at 3-4 major incidents in their life. Where they were born, in what environment they grew up, with whom they allied, and what choices they made toward the final battle of their life. So Karna was born through a mishap. Kunti had got some powerful mantras and she was just trying it out. That is one problem with if we get too much power too early, then it can become a big problem. That's what happened with Hanuman also. Hanuman was just a small child, and children are mischievous. But children, when they are mischievous, some small children, they might just pick a ball and throw it away. But Hanuman is a small child, is big power, that he could actually take a big boulder and throw it. And he was creating a great danger. So, power without maturity actually is dangerous. So Kunti was just trying it out, and she was just a teenager at that time. And then, because she prayed to the Surya Dev, and Surya Dev gave her a child. And she couldn't keep that child. So now some people say they just abandoned the child. It's not like that. She actually very carefully put the child in a wooden basket, and she put a lot of jewels and comfortable blankets. It would be clear to anyone who got that child that this child was actually from a well-to-do family. And as the basket was going away, she prayed to Surya Dev, she prayed to the wind god, the sun god, and all of them, please guide this child to a good family. And yes, you could say he was abandoned. But then we can also say that he did end up with a good family. It was not a Kshatriya family. So we could say that he was born in royalty, did not get that royalty. But still he could have gone anywhere. And the Sutas are not considered to be very low class. They are also respectable. And he grew up to be a powerful young man who had strong Kshatriya tendencies. So yes, his life began with unfairness. Now if you look at the Pandavas, for them, we could say, they were born in a royal family. Well, it was not that simple. They were considered Pandavas, but they were born to Kunti through the gods. And if you consider among them, just when they were small children, because of an unfortunate curse, Pandu died. And now the sages only told that you go back to your family. Now they were in the forest, and their father had, although they were young, their father had trained them to defend themselves, had trained them in Kshatriya skills. But still the sages felt that without their father, the family would not be safe in the jungle. There are many dangerous animals in the jungle. And that's why they asked them to go back to the kingdom. Little did the sages know that in the kingdom were far more dangerous animals. These are two-legged animals. So the very family they came to for protection. In that family itself, there was constant threat for them. And Bhima was just a teenager when Duryodhana made a whole conspiracy to poison him. And the Pandavas they had to live in constant caution. They were courageous, so it was not exactly fear. But still, we see that when we go to somewhere for food, we go to a hotel or something, sometimes there might be food poisoning. That is also unintentional accident. But if somebody has survived an intentional food poisoning, food is actually the activity with which we relax. Yes, let me sit and enjoy the food now. Let me relax after all the work of life. And as teenagers, they were all survivors of a food poisoning. And it was not that Duryodhana's malevolence was over. That scheme didn't work, he was constantly trying. And sometimes it happens for us that something terrible happens to us, and then at least we can, if say we are robbed or we are abused, we may complain to the authorities. But suppose if somebody is living in, say, a place where the mainstream community is biased against a particular community, when something terrible happens, you can't even complain about it. So the Pandavas, their life had been threatened, and yet they couldn't complain. Why? Because Yudhishthira said that Bhishma, although he is virtuous, Bhishma demonstrates through his life. Bhishma is a very complex character, but overall, he demonstrates rule-bound dharma, niyam-baddha dharma. And whereas the Mahabharata moves towards You could say not just categorical morality, if you want to English the word. This is right, this is wrong. This is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do. There is niyam baddha dharma and there is uddesh baddha dharma. Uddesh is purpose. So there you can call it as categorical ethics and there are contextual ethics. So with Bhishma, if once he gave the word, that's all. Now this can be a virtue, but sometimes it can be a problem also. Because he had sworn loyalty to the reigning Kuru king. And the reigning Kuru king was Dhritarashtra. Although he was caretaker, still he was the king. And he knew, Yudhishthira said that if we complain, they were just newcomers into the kingdom. Now if we complain, we don't even know who's on our side. And if there is a conflict between the two families, Bhishma will, although we may be right, Bhishma will take the side of Duryodhana, of Dhritarashtra. So he said, just don't complain, but be cautious. So the Pandavas lived constantly with a threat to their life. Now we may say Kshatriyas always live with a threat to their life. Well, that is true, but there is a context to it. Kshatriyas, they have a threat to life and they go for fighting in a war. But in your own home, to live with the fear of food poisoning or assassination, it's a very difficult way to live. So, now if you consider what wrong had the Pandavas done for this, to get this. They had not done anything specifically to antagonize Duryodhana. It was just that Duryodhana was against them. So, we could say from their birth and childhood, Karna was deprived of the honor of being a Kshatriya. The Pandavas were deprived of fatherhood. The Pandavas were deprived of fatherly protection and even family protection. They had to, normally our family protects, for them they had to be protected from their family. They had to protect themselves from their family. So it was just as unfair for both of them. Different ways, and ultimately we could say distress is not quantifiable. The point here is not to say that Karna's distress was greater or the Pandava's distress was greater. The point is that for the sufferer, the pain is the most acute because the sufferer was experiencing it. Because for the sufferer, the pain, every time when it comes, it's new. For the observer, it's the same old thing. If I have back pain, I have back pain. Every time I feel it intensely. From somebody else, oh, you have back pain, that's what it is. Even if it's not that it's not that others are heartless, but for the observer, it's the same old thing. But pain always feels new to the experiencer, intense. So we can't really quantify pain. Here the point is that life was overall unfair to both of them. Now, is not having honor a greater pain or not having safety a greater pain? Having honor and having respect but no safety, or having no respect but safety? It's difficult to say. The point is both of them had difficulties. Then they grew up. And if we consider Karna, we could say at one level it was unfair because he could not get into Drona's academy. He could not be trained personally by Drona. Whereas Arjuna got that privilege of being trained by Drona. That's true. But Karna eventually got training from a competent warrior. From who? Parshurama. So, he somehow got it. And although Parshuram was very upset when he heard about Karna's deviousness, Karna pretended to be a Brahmana, not a Kshatriya, to get that training. Because Parshuram had said, I will not train Kshatriyas. But Parshuram did not just curse him so that all his power would go away. He had that power almost throughout his life. So both of them eventually did get trained. It's like in today's world, Now, one student might get into an elite academy, another student might get into a not such an elite academy. But eventually, which university one is in matters, but equally matters how well one applies oneself. And Parshuram was a formidable teacher. In fact, he was far better than all the world Kshatriyas. So he went there, and they both got the education. They both became great archers. So now, there are all the time in our life. See, every moment we are making choices. But some moments we make big choices. And sometimes we feel that I've got a big break. But things are not always the way they look to. So for Karna, when Duryodhana accepted him as his friend, so we could say both Arjuna and Karna got their big break. We'll talk about the similarities and the differences. So, what was the big break for Karna? Yes, the next. Duryodhana made him the king of Anga. More than that, Duryodhana accepted him as his friend. So there was a time when all the students of Drona were exhibiting their skills. And at that time Karna said, I can exhibit equally. Now Karna was almost like gate crashing over there. It was, if there's a particular university and the graduates of that university, maybe dancing or singing or whatever, they're exhibiting their skills. And some other student from some other university comes and says, I want to exhibit my skills. I can do better than you. Well, that was not so appropriate. But still, at that time, through a whole series of events, Duryodhana saw, this person can be the foil for Arjuna. Karna had initially said that I will exceed everything that Partha has done. But then he couldn't exceed. But still Duryodhana was impressed. So then he said, I accept you. If people don't accept you as a Kshatriya, I will accept you as a Kshatriya. I will make you a Kshatriya. And he offered him the honor of kingship. This was for Karna a big change. If we look at the life stories of people, some people may be born in great prosperity, but ultimately when we grow in life, there are certain moments when we develop a connection with somebody influential and they can change our life. Now at that time, when Karna his honor was saved by Duryodhana and honor was bestowed upon him also, he naturally felt indebted to him. And he said, what can I do for you in return? He says, I don't want anything except your friendship. And this might seem to be very endearing, you want nothing but my friendship. He said, that you will have throughout my life. But he didn't know what that friendship would cost him. There are two kinds of friends. Some friends take you to lunch. Some friends take your lunch away. So, now which friend who is, that we come to know only when we are hungry. So, when we are hungry and they are also hungry. So that's it. And so we can't know at this time. It's this wonderful friendship. So from obscurity, Karna suddenly rose to overnight fame. And he became a top player. Just like say if the sports of cricket, somebody is a local star, a local player, and suddenly a top coach spots them and slots them into the international team. It's like a big break for them. So he moved from obscurity to a position of great power and prosperity. Now for the Pandavas also something similar happened. After their life was threatened, when they were attempted to be burnt alive in Varnavat, then they escaped. And although they were royalty, they were living in poverty as Brahmanas. And then they went for the Swayamvar of Draupadi. And there Arjuna's unparalleled skills came out. And by those unparalleled skills, Arjuna won the hand of Draupadi. And after he won that hand of Draupadi, and when Drupada came to know that actually they are the Pandavas, he was delighted, and the news actually spread. So at that time, Dhritarashtra recognized that our Bhishma told Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra acknowledged that I cannot now keep the Pandavas bereaved of their kingdom. So then he called them back, because now what had happened, they were not just some orphan children. They were the sons-in-law of one of the most powerful dynasties of that time. That time there were two major kingdoms, the Panchala kingdom and the Kuru kingdom. So this alliance, you could say, changed the fortune of the Pandavas. Because their fortune was their own fortune. They were illustrious, they were glorious warriors. That's true. But there is power that also comes from our connections. It's not that every single time you need to fight to get something. There can be different kinds of peace, and there can be different kinds of violence. There is maybe peace because there are two dogs and neither of them have teeth. So there are two powerless people and they are peaceful. That is not because they are innately peaceful, but they don't have anything to create any problems, any violence. Now there are two powerful people who both have the capacity to be dangerous to the other person, and both of them restrain themselves. So this is the peace that is based on respect. So the Pandavas could have fought, but in most situations, fighting is not required. It is the power to fight that is required. And what happens? People who don't have the power to fight are often the most eager to fight. So it's wonderful if everything could work on morals, on principles, but life is not so fair. So sometimes you don't have to fight, but you have to have the power to fight, and then the other person recognizes. The Pandavas now had the power to fight in a very visible way. So then they were called back and they were given the kingdom. But again, what happened? They were given a barren half of the kingdom. Khandaprastha. So we could say that the Karna's lucky break or big break was what he got to Duryodhana. The Pandavas got their big break, you could say, through Drupada, through Dhritarashtra, but it was more that what was their right, they got it back. What had been taken away from it, they got it back. Now both of them became kings. Karna was a powerful king, but there was no match to the 5 Pandavas combined together. And now whenever we get something, there is always a price for it. On the internet nowadays, there are so many free things offered. See, when any product is offered free, actually the price that is paid for that free product is the VR sense. What happens is we get hooked to it. And once we get hooked to it, our consciousness, our time, our desires are attached to it. So there's nothing free in the world. For Karna, he got his lucky break. But the result of that lucky break was that he became entangled with Duryodhana. So initially he may not know how good or how bad Duryodhana is. And we see in the Mahabharata initially whenever Duryodhana comes up with any devious schemes, Karna says, why are you doing all this? Let's call the Pandavas to a straight fight and we'll defeat them. But Duryodhana has another person influencing him. Who is that? Shakuni. And so that big break for him, for Karna, came at the cost of being obliged to somebody who was not virtuous. For the Pandavas, the big break came naturally. Or even if they say that it was by, they did not associate with anybody who was vicious. Drupada was a virtuous king over. Everybody makes some mistakes. And Drupada also made a mistake of antagonizing Drona by his actions. But it was not that Drupada was a habitually vicious person. So, okay, both of them got their big break. Say, then they start moving forward. And we may say that Karna actually had to be grateful to Duryodhana because he gave such a big gift to him. It's true. But everything that we do, everything that we get in life, it all has to be seen in terms of situation. What is right today may not be right tomorrow. What is right tomorrow may not be right day after tomorrow. Because the same thing, say for example, if a patient is a little sick, you might give them a strong medicine. That is right today. When the patient becomes sicker by tomorrow, then their body may not have the capacity to take that very strong medicine. You might need surgery, you might need something else. So we cannot have a one-size-fit-all formula for everyone. So Karna's gratitude was that, yes, I will be Duryodhana's friend. And what happens in life that we are all influenced by the people around us. So Karna slowly started becoming wicked like Duryodhana. And this was the major turning point. Now some turning point can be upward, some turning point can be downward. For the Pandavas, they got a lot of honor when they were enthroned as the world emperors through the Rajasuya area. But then after that came extreme dishonor. That was Draupadi was dishonored, they were dispossessed of everything, defrauded in a rigged gambling match, and they had to go to the forest and live. So for the Pandavas, it was extreme dishonor. Now which dishonor was worse? Karna had to, although he became the king, still there are many Kshatriyas who didn't accept him as the king. So he was sometimes referred derogatorily as a Sutaputra. So is that dishonor worse, or is the dishonor that the Pandavas went through that worse? Again, it's difficult to say. Karna's dishonor was constant, you could say lifelong. So is that worse? Say for example, somebody is say blind or lame or deaf or something like that, lifelong. Is that bad? Or somebody who's like a big athlete and then they become cripplingly lame for not just a month or two but for several years. Which is worse? Okay, it's difficult to say. It's difficult. Yes, both are painful and in their own ways it's painful, whoever is going through it. So the point here again, as I said, is not to compare whom life was more unfair. It is just to see in context that life is unfair for everyone. So now, what happens eventually? When life is unfair to us, either we respond by acting in ways that are unfair, or we stick to fair ways. So what happened? When he got the association of Duryodhana, he slowly started becoming contaminated. He started becoming bitter. And the Pandavas, they also had all reason to become bitter. But they did not. They went to the forest and they were living with the sages. And what happened? Through that, they maintained their perspective. The Pandavas were in the forest. Among them, if you see, among all the Pandavas also, Arjuna was the most heroic, but Arjuna also suffered the most. The world is such a thing that the more fame you get, the more infamy also you are vulnerable. So among all the Pandavas, it was Arjuna who had to go to exile before us. The Pandavas had a particular arrangement about how they would spend time with Draupadi. And if anybody violated that, then they had to go to the forest. It happened that Arjuna had to regain the wealth that had been stolen from Brahmana, and he needed his weapons. And those weapons were in the chamber where Yudhishthira and Draupadi were there. And he went in for doing something good. And when he explained the situation, he went and recovered the Pandavas, the Brahmana's wealth. And then he came and insisted that I am going to the forest. So he had to go to exile for that purpose. Then again, fortunately for him in the exile, he made further alliances. When the Pandavas was in the forest, Arjuna was the most heroic. But for most people who see somebody very successful, say number one sports player or number one business person, number one author, number one singer, we see their status. But usually, to be at the top in any field, it requires a bone-breaking level of effort. So it is Arjuna who among all the Pandavas is the most virtuous. But still Arjuna performed the most severe austerities. Because all the Pandavas were in the forest, but Arjuna went from the forest to top of the mountains. And severe austerities he performed to propitiate the gods. And then of course to the austerity he got the honor of going to the heavens, and there he got great power over there. But he got it all, nothing free. Everything he had to pay a price for it. So during all this time, Karna, he was also preparing, but Karna did not do any severe austerity like Arjuna. He was always a worshipper of Surya. Somehow he felt a great attraction to Surya. And he would worship Surya Dev, and he would do some austerity in the worship of Surya Dev. He would give charity. And then, as things went on, eventually came the final battle. So there are some choices, we could say at one level, every choice is irrevocable. In the sense that that moment, that opportunity is gone forever. But sometimes that opportunity comes back. And some choices are irrevocable in the sense that that opportunity will never come back. So for both of them, when this final war was taking place, that was a time when they had to choose. So, let's see now, this is a very revealing comparison. We know what happened before the Kurukshetra war. All the Kauravas and the Pandavas were seeking allies. And Duryodhana was a good politician, so he knew how to win people over. And everybody knew that he would get some allies. But even the Pandavas were surprised to see how many allies he had got. It's in the world, truth is determined not just by what happens, but truth is determined by how what has happened is broadcasted. Say for example, somebody used to be recommended for initiation. And we may say that, okay, he had problems earlier, but he is stable now. But if somebody wants to give a negative twist to that, he's stable now, but he had problems earlier. So the facts are entirely the same, but the twist is completely different. So what happened was, the Pandavas were in the forest out of circulation, just in the forest. Now Duryodhana was cultivating all connections, and he spun the whole story in an entirely different way. And although what he had done was outrageous, But he made it seem as if it was the Pandavas who were wrong. So much so it is said that even Balram was won over by Duryodhana's narrative. And at the end of the at the end of their Agyatwas, when the Pandavas were planning what to do, Balram said, the Pandavas should go humbly. He said it was because of their own mistakes that they lost everything. They should not arrogantly demand, but they should be humble. The Pandavas were surprised because initially after why they had been exiled, Balram had come and he was as angry as Krishna. What has happened is atrocious. But what changed? So the Duryodhana was constantly spinning the story in his own way. So at this point, when the allies were to be formed, Pandava Kauravas got a lot of allies. And both of them wanted Krishna as the ally. And what happened? Arjuna, when he had to choose, there was a whole Narayan Sena on one side, and there was Narayan, Krishna on the other side. And unhesitatingly, what did Arjuna choose? He said Krishna. And after that, Krishna asked him, why did you choose me? And Duryodhana made a big show and he said, oh, if you have taken Krishna, I'll have to settle for the army. Internally, he was thinking, what a fool. One person is also non-combatant. What is he going to do? So what he did, so when Arjuna was asked by Krishna, why did you choose me instead of my whole army? So he said, Krishna, what is the Narayan Sena without Narayan? The world without Krishna is ultimately nothing. But this was the critical choice that Arjuna made. Now Karna also had to make a big choice. Now, in this case, actually it is Arjuna and Duryodhana, both of them had gone to Krishna. But in the case of Karna, it is Krishna himself who came to meet him. Now Krishna's purpose was initially it was to try to avoid the war itself. Like I say right now, among India, Pakistan, things are quite hot. So best is if you say avoid war. Let's avoid all bloodshed. But if war is going to take place, let's at least minimize the violence. So the two countries say, okay, we will not use nuclear weapons. We also don't use nuclear weapons. So Krishna first similarly went and talked with Duryodhana. But Duryodhana was obstinate. Utterly obstinate. There are different ways of saying no. So Duryodhana, say for example, if we invite somebody for a program and they say, actually, I have this thing to do, that thing to do, I can't come for the program. It might be an excuse, but at least they're making an excuse, isn't it? I was at a conflict, was at a mediation between two devotees, and one devotee gave an explanation. And the other devotee said, if you are going to speak a lie, don't insult my intelligence, at least speak a believable lie. So, if somebody says that, okay, I have this thing to do, I have that thing to do. It may be true, it may not be true, but at least they are making an excuse. And they're giving a reason. But suppose somebody says, you're inviting me for your program, even if I die, my dead body will never come for your program. So then, that is not just a no to the request. It's like a slamming no in the face of the person. Door being slammed. So Duryodhana's no to Krishna was like that. He says, not just I refuse your peace proposal, I will not give you enough land to put even the tip of a needle through. So then Krishna decided that, okay, now war can't be avoided, let's at least make sure there are no nuclear weapons. So the nuclear weapon there was Karna. So he said that so he approached Karna. Now when Krishna approached Karna, Krishna told him, actually You got entangled with Duryodhana. But you don't belong here. You belong to the Pandavas. You are from their family. And you come over to their side and you will get all that Duryodhana gave you and much, much more. He said, you wanted to prove your superiority over Arjuna. Arjuna is your younger brother. He will follow you just as the way he follows Yudhishthira. He comes to know that you are his brother. So everything that Karna wanted honor, Karna wanted a respectable lineage, Karna wanted acceptance in the elite class of society, and Karna would have got all of it. Just had to say yes to Krishna. And in contrast, Arjuna, when he had to choose, so Karna was getting Krishna and the world. Arjuna had to choose between Krishna and the world. So in a sense, Arjuna's choice was much, much more difficult. But Arjuna chose Krishna. Karna, he got Krishna and the world, and yet he didn't choose. He said, no. Duryodhana has fought this war with his faith in me. I cannot betray him. He was not betraying Duryodhana. It was Duryodhana who was betraying his old dynasty by using his own selfishness to cause a fratricidal war. Betraying a betrayer is not betrayal. Betraying a betrayer is not betrayal. That's what Vibhishan did when he left the side of Ravana. So now he had this misdirected sense of loyalty. And ultimately, this choice is what everyone has. That there are many different specifics that may be there in each person's life. But do we choose Krishna or do we choose something other than Krishna? So for all of us, when bad things happen, we may ask, why did this happen? And we can try to find answers to that, certainly, as much as possible. But ultimately, what do good people do when bad things happen? Good people try to choose God. In the world, why suffering comes is very difficult to know. Now, what the cause of the suffering is very difficult to know, but Krishna is the ultimate cure for all suffering. And that choice, if we make, when we'll find that, okay, bad things are happening. And it's not that just by choosing Krishna, everything will suddenly become wonderful. The Pandavas had to fight. And it was a fierce fight. Not easy. And they also faced severe reversals. Abhimanyu was killed. Another son of Arjuna, Iravan, was killed before that. So they faced severe pain. But eventually, they were victorious. So for all of us, this is the essential choice. So when the mind says, why is this happening to me? Yes, we can try to find out why is this happening. But beyond that, what am I going to do in return? Am I going to choose Krishna? Or am I going to choose resentment, doubt, frustration? If we choose the other, then we will be going on the trajectory that Karna went. None of us have as much power as Karna had. And none of us actually even have as much virtue as Karna had. But by the choice he was doomed. So for every one of us, when something terrible happens in our life, okay, there is a specific choice we have to make, but there is a generic choice you have to make. They said that the way to live in the world is to first fix your eyes on the stars and then take your steps. What that means is, get your values, get your purposes right. What am I living for? This has happened, I don't know why it has happened. But what is the purpose of my life? We can't know the cause of everything, but we can know the purpose of everything. Cause is specifically this person did this and this person did this, that's why this happened. That's cause. But purpose is what is it meant for? So ultimately the purpose of everything is to help us to grow toward Krishna, provided we make the right choice. So Arjuna made and Karna did not. At the end when Karna was killed, it was because, it's not just specifically because of the way that particular battle turned out, but it's because of the long series of choices that he had made. And the lesson from the Mahabharata, essentially, the Mahabharata begins with the question, what is Dharma? And Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya. Mahabharata also quotes the same words which the Bhagavatam quotes. The Dharma is very difficult to understand. Mahajano yenagataha sapantha. But look at the way great souls have lived. So the Mahabharata doesn't just say study Shastra and learn what is Dharma. So Dharma is not just like a series of exhaustive codes that you memorize and then replicate. Life is very complex. Dharma is more like a compass that we develop by regular reorientation. And when we study the lives of these great characters in the scriptures and try to enter into the situations that they were facing and understand the choices that they made, then we also will develop similar characteristics or similar for the virtuous characters. When we learn how to choose properly, with those characters who make wrong choices, how not to choose. And the Mahabharata's controversy comes because Karna, we normally think that Karna, there are so many unfairness things happen to him. So many unfair things happen. And destiny always favored Arjuna. But it was not like that. Destiny was just as harsh to Arjuna as it was to Karna. And just as Karna got his luck, just as Arjuna got lucky breaks, Karna also got lucky breaks. But ultimately it boiled down to everyone's choice. So Karna, at the critical moments, chose Duryodhana instead of Krishna. He chose the world and honor in the world over Krishna, although Krishna was also offering him honor in the world. Arjuna chose Krishna even if it meant losing everything in the world. And by that he gained Krishna and he gained the world also. So for us, every day when we chant the holy names, every day when we do our sadhana, do our puja, we are actually making the habit of choosing Krishna. And when the moments of crisis come, whether we will be able to consciously choose Krishna or not, we don't know. But whenever it's possible, we make the habit of choosing Krishna, and that habit will gradually prompt us more and more. And then in the moments of crisis also, we will be able to choose Krishna. And thus, we will evolve. Even if we can't know the cause of everything, through everything, we will be moving towards the ultimate purpose of everything, which is attaining love for Krishna and attaining an eternal life with Him. So I'll summarize. I spoke to them this theme of controversy from the Mahabharata is life unfair? We could say the controversy was life unfair to Karna? I said the basic theme was it was unfair to both Karna and Arjuna. Now the question that is worth asking is not just why do bad things happen to good people, but what do good people do when bad things happen to them? So we discussed how it's very difficult to compare distress, but everybody's distress feels terrible for them. Karna was born deprived of royalty because of his birth situation, and the Pandavas were born deprived of safety because of their birth and childhood situations. Karna got education, archery. Arjuna also got that. Karna got his big break when Duryodhana made him his friend. Arjuna got his big break when they won the hand of Draupadi in Swayamvar. But it was subsequent choices that Duryodhana was a vicious person and Karna got spoiled by that association. Karna was dishonored because he was not accepted as a Kshatriya by many. The Pandavas were viciously dishonored and they had to live in great agony for 13 years of that forest stay. So, which were lifelong pain or a acute multi-year long pain, which is worse, difficult to say again. And ultimately, the biggest turn for them was the time when they had to choose. So Karna, Arjuna chose Krishna instead of the world. Karna could choose Krishna and the world, but he failed. He chose the world over Krishna. And thus, he courted his own destruction. And for each one of us, if we ultimately we consider what is the choice I have. Why is this? We can't know the cause of why things are happening sometimes, but we can know the purpose. That means look, first align with the stars, and then choose your steps. It's like when a storm is coming in a ship, for a ship in the ocean, there right itself you can't know which way to go, but look at the stars. Okay, this is the direction, and then find a way in that direction. So if we do that with our daily habit of sadhana, with choosing Krishna, then even the moments of big crisis also, we will choose Krishna. Ultimately, we will attain Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I have a couple questions. The first question was, did Karna knew that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he knows everything? That means Krishna himself is the Supreme Lord. Did Karna knew or not? That's my first question. The second question is, even though Duryodhana had supported him...
Separate question?
Yes,
right. So did Karna know that Krishna was God? See, he had heard about it. But did he believe it? His actions show that he didn't believe it. Ultimately, when we say we believe something, it is disbelieve something is chosen seen through our actions. So at that time, when Krishna had descended, Krishna had done some extraordinary things. Now, for many, those extraordinary things, extraordinary actions, were evidence of his divinity. For others, they were evidence of his great prowess, but not divinity. So Karna had certainly heard from the sages, from the Brahmins, from Bhishma and others, that Krishna is God. But he didn't accept it. Now, did he reject it? Karna was never as openly disrespectful to Krishna as Duryodhana was. So he was not averse to Krishna directly. But it's clear that he did not accept Krishna as God. So knowing and accepting are two different things. The same actions with Krishna, he knew that Krishna had maybe lifted Govardhan or whatever, killed so many demons. He's a great warrior. Is God? Maybe, maybe not. So there is no specific declaration by Karna where he says, I know you are God, but still I'll go against you. Nothing like that. Not that specific. In general, Krishna doesn't, in the Bhagavad Gita he does say at times to Arjuna that Asaham Sarvasya Prabhu, I am God. But throughout the Mahabharata, Krishna doesn't draw on his godhood to win arguments. Krishna persuades based on reason, because Krishna doesn't want to override anyone's free will. So Krishna persuades Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita on the reason, of course based on scripture, but it's a reason. And he tries to persuade Karna also based on reason. So he doesn't draw on his, I am God, you must obey me. That is not the mode of Krishna.
So that answers partly my question. That means Karna, because of the association of Duryodhana, maybe he did not accept Krishna. That might be a choice too.
Correct, yeah.
Because of the association.
Yeah.
And then the intention of Duryodhana supporting, I don't know what was the intention behind supporting Karna for every aspect. But I I'm thinking the Karna did the right thing because he supported in his life, he was looking for something great. And Karna got that from Duryodhana. So I don't know why did he do anything wrong there because he was faithful.
Good point. See, was there anything wrong in Karna's being grateful and faithful to Duryodhana? No, it is not that being grateful, being faithful, these are all very good virtues. But again, context is important. See, imagine, say, in a country like, say, Pakistan or Afghanistan, there are poor children who are starving. And then some terrorist organization comes and feeds them and provides them all facilities. And then eventually, now for those kids at that time, it's just, I'm hungry and you give me food, I'm grateful. But then eventually when they grow up and they start being given weapons, go and kill all these people. You saved my life at that time. But does that mean I go and kill innocent people? So you have to be grateful. But see, no virtue can be raised to the supreme out of context. Gratitude is a very good virtue. But does gratitude mean that we are lifelong obliged to someone who is telling us to do terrible things? So we have to consider context also. So what happened was, at that time, for him to be grateful and to commit himself to Duryodhana was laudable. But eventually, when Duryodhana started doing all the evil things that he did, at that time Karna was not obliged. He felt obliged, but that is why Dharma is so subtle. As I said, something that is right at one time may not be right at the later time. So initially for Duryodhana to for Karna to commit to Duryodhana was good. But then when Duryodhana starts doing all sorts of terrible things, then he has to rethink. Did I come here for this? Did I become friends with him for this? No. So that's why context is important. Context is important. So there's nothing wrong initially, but eventually his, could say, affection, his attachment, his gratitude, whichever way you want to talk about it blinded him to the perversity of Duryodhana's character. Just because somebody is good to us does not mean that the person is good. We cannot, you are good to me and I am grateful that you are good to me. But just because you are good to me doesn't mean you are good. I have to see also how you are behaving with others. And if you are terrible with others, then do I want to be a part of that? I have to consider that. Okay. Thank you. Yes, I will come. Yeah.
Was Karna, did Karna misrepresent himself in front of Parshuram? Did he already know at the time of admission that he was from a different lineage?
Well, Parshuram had taken a vow that I will never teach any Kshatriyas. I will not teach anyone except Brahmanas. So he did present himself as the son of a Brahmana. Karna presented so that he could get that education. Okay. Yes, any questions on the Matajis? You can take the mic. Yeah.
When did Karna think that when Kunti Devi came and asked, do you think that she's only asking for to protect Pandavas and not really because she loves him?
Yeah, now it's when Kunti came and told him that don't fight, you are my son. So was it because of love for her sons? This is very difficult things to say. Now Karna, it's for a mother, even if the child who she has never she's never taken care of that child, but still her heart is there with it. She's kept that child in the body for 9 months and then she's not there. So she had love for him also. But now what Karna thought, it was basically that there are two different things over it. One is that he felt that he had a vow that anybody who comes to me for charity will never go empty-handed. So he wanted to keep that vow. Now, Kunti did not ask him that at least my 5 sons live. That's what he said. He said, you had 5 sons, you will always have 5 sons. That I will not kill any of the other sons. That you will have Duryodhana, I will have Arjuna, or you will have me. So that was, in one sense, his sense of honor. You want to spend the negative, you can say it was arrogance, but it was just virtuous honor of being charitable. Because of which he said, you always have 5 sons. But at that time, he felt so obligated or attached to Duryodhana that he didn't see Kunti's love. And at that time, if the Kunti throughout her life, it was her fear that what had happened earlier might scandalize her reputation. So then, but when it was a matter, it was between choosing her reputation and her son's life. She was ready to risk her reputation for her son's life. So was it just to save her son's life? If Karna wanted to, Karna could have spoken out in public and it would have just spoiled her reputation. He didn't do that, but she didn't know that he wouldn't do that. She took that risk. And also, was there like a mortal fear of Arjuna being defeated? Now, I have a whole series of talks on Karna that basically they had 6 encounters, and not once Karna. It was first time was in the Draupadi Swayamvar, where Karna tried to hit, but Karna was not allowed to, and Arjuna hit. So we could say that was Arjuna proved superior, but Karna was not allowed. So we leave that. Before that, there was in Drona's academy, they had Guru Dakshina to be given. So he wanted that Drupada be arrested. So the Kauravas went first, and Karna went with them, and they were defeated by Drupada. And the Pandavas went, and the Pandavas defeated Drupada. So Arjuna defeated the one who had defeated Karna. Then later on, there are many incidents, but again when the Gandharvas attacked Duryodhana, the Gandharvas defeated Karna, fled from there, and Duryodhana was arrested. Now Arjuna came and defeated the Gandharvas. So if you want to keep a score, it's like 2-0 for Arjuna. Then again there was the Virat Yuddha, where with the Virat fire, Arjuna alone, he defeated all the Kauravas, including Karna. So there's not even one incident where Karna had actually defeated Arjuna. There are times when he had equal. Like if you consider the first meeting was in the Drona's academy, where Karna equaled everything that Arjuna had done. So there are some draws, but there are some victories for Arjuna. Even during so there's not really that kind of mortal fear that Karna will kill my son. Arjuna had gone and got blessings from the gods. He had defeated the gods. He had defeated the demons. Look at the overall history of the Mahabharata. What Arjuna had done exceeds what Karna had done. So he could have thought that way, but it is primarily he felt